Hello, everyone. Welcome to the first episode of 2021 and the 20th episode of hashtag Friday Night Chats. I am Dr. Karen Love, the founder and host of Friday Night Chat. I am excited tonight to introduce to you retired Lieutenant Colonel MarkMines, owner of multiple McDonald's franchises, Mines Enterprise, and the esteemed leader of the empowerment ministry at his church. Thank you, Mark, for your service. I want to also thank Lydia, his wife, for allowing him to come and be a part of Friday Night Chat. I know that is difficult, but he agreed to come on and share his story. One of my favorite scriptures is that Satan meant it for bad, but God meant it for good so that others may live. And that mantra, so that others may live, is so critical. And so when I think about speakers that come on Friday Night Chat, I think about their messages and how important they are and how they are reaching the community, whether it is through Facebook or YouTube or podcast. So tonight, very, very excited to welcome Mark to the platform. Mark will share his path to excellence, his path to success, organizational excellence, and entrepreneurship, from bullet to burger. I love that. Welcome, Mark, to the chat room.
Thanks, Karen. Thanks, cousin.
Yeah.
Happy New Year to you.
Happy New Year. All. Yeah. Mark, could you tell us about your story?
Sure. So, I think see the first slide, it talks about from bullets to burgers. And I always wanted to go to the Army for some reason. So I actually through Hampton University. I went to Hampton, went to the ROTC, and had a great career in the Army. And then when it was time to get out of the Army, I wanted to start my own business. So I ended up becoming a McDonald's owner. A really interesting story I'll share with you a little later on. But so I've been blessed to have both a very formal career in the Army, as well as being my own boss. If you hit the next slide,
sure.
Talk a little bit about how I am able to do what I do. And it's basically family. It's my family. No story will be complete without family. Obviously, I got two sons, I call them. One, my son, Mark, and then my nephew, Gio, who came to live with me a couple years ago. They actually work in the business. And through, I talk to them about being successful. So when they go to the business, not only do they work shift, I tell them, I give them certain things to look for. So I'm trying to educate them about the business. And I talk to them about profitability and waste food and all that stuff. So they're in the business. And then you see my lovely wife, Lydia. She's also a retired lieutenant colonel from the Army. She and I work in the business together. The way we kind of separate, the way we kind of organize our company is she handles all the personnel, all the HR, training, the pay raises, all that stuff. I do the operation. And of course we have, Blackie. If I can, just a quick note on working with family, because I think it's so important to talk about that. When we first started, we really didn't define our role. And so because we didn't define our roles very well, I would go to the store and someone would say, hey, Miss Lydia said, do it this way. Well, I don't really want to do that. And then she would go to the store and someone would say, hey, Mr. Mark said, do it this way. So because we didn't define our role very well, it was kind of rough. And it really took us about 4 years to kind of coordinate and structure our business where we both had abilities and we're able to move the business forward. That's my beautiful family.
And you know what, it's so important to define your roles, to make sure it's communicated across the spectrum, right? All the employees, because it's sort of like raising kids. If mom doesn't say yes, dad will say yes. And so it's so important to organizations to have communication. So I understand about that even in ministry when you have a husband and wife team. And so trying to be very, very clear about those boundaries, and sometimes it doesn't happen. We encourage challenge the process, but not.
Right.
Next
And
slide.
like I said, it took us about 4 years to really get that, that continuity together.
Sure.
So here is my my little journey. And so my first job was McDonald's. I started working McDonald's in high school and a little bit in college. So it's only fitting that that would be my last job working. So first job, I graduated in my hometown of Asheville, Virginia. Went to Hampton University. Graduated with a marketing degree in Hampton in 1985. I was also a part of ROTC. I was commissioned second lieutenant in the Corps of Engineers. And then after I retired from the Army, I went into McDonald's. Got accepted into the McDonald's owner program. That was about a year and a half. And then we picked up our first store in 2008. And we've been doing McDonald's now for about 12 years. And we got 4 restaurants and under contract another. And it's a funny story I tell people. I don't know if you guys believe in fate, but I like to tell people the story. And so when I initially put my application in with McDonald's, I got denied. And they're like, well, we got thousands of people who want to become owners. Thank you for your interest. And so about a year before I retired, I was going home one day and I got on a subway. I was working in the middle of Washington, D.C. I got on a subway. And if you're familiar with the subway in Washington, D.C., there's millions of people in the subway. And so my train got there, 100 people got off, 100 of us got on, and I ended up sitting by this guy who also had an Army unit. And so we struck a conversation. We're both in the Army, and he said, well, you're going to retire in a year, so what do you want to do? I said, well, I want to become a McDonald's owner, but I got, Dear John. He said, well, who sent you that letter? I said, some guy by the name of Paul. And he looks me right dead in the eye and says, hey, listen, I know Paul. I'll give him. I was like, what? He said, yeah, I'm only, I'm doing my temporary active duty service. I actually work in HR at McDonald's, and I know Paul very well. And sure enough, 2 weeks later, I get a phone call, Paul Carper, saying, hey, listen, I talked to Andy and says you're a good guy. Why don't you interview? So I don't know how many of you guys believe in fate, but for sure, I mean, I don't know how in the world I left work, ended up sitting by this guy who had the, had the key to.
That's a but God moment, sure. Mark, did you train in Chicago?
I did train.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So the way the program works, when you start, it takes about a year and a half. So they train you at a restaurant near where you live, so you don't have to travel back and forth. The only requirement I had in Chicago was to come to the McDonald's headquarters and go to what's called Hamburger University.
Yes.
Which is a week. Yeah, that's when I think I came to see you.
Yes.
So I trained for a week. For the most part, all the training.
I remember at that time they played McDonald's not even a mile away from the house. And when I go to purchase my food, that would always do with me paying higher taxes. So I had this battle going on for about 6 weeks with McDonald's. Why am I paying higher taxes? But anyway,
that's so
yeah, we never worked it out. So, did you visit the Oak Brook campus? Well, which I believe is
I did.
Yeah.
I did.
Yeah.
Beautiful campus. They moved everything downtown.
Yes.
So everything's downtown. They modernized. I think it was a building that Oprah Winfrey used to own. McDonald's bought it, repurposed it for their headquarters. So it's a gorgeous building. If you get an opportunity to go see it, I haven't been absolutely state of the art.
We did a couple years ago, and you're right. So it's visible now, it's local, it's better access to an international community. So I can see the advantages, and that's when they're beginning kiosks, so you can go in, food, love it, So I love all of that innovation. Oh, amazing. Okay, so 2008 first McDonald's purchase. You here or
next slide, please? Yeah.
okay? All right.
So we're talking about leadership, and I wanted to throw the slides up to show I had a variety of military jobs. They probably don't, to the non-military eye, they look basically the same. But in my career, I've had basic Army jobs. I had a job where I was a facility engineer for a large building. I worked as an investigative reporter, if you will, with the centers of Army Centers of Lessons Learned, while I was in Bosnia and did a lot of research on the war over there. I was personal aide to two general officers, where I was in headquarters element of a large Army unit. So I've had a variety of jobs in the Army. So hopefully I can talk about things I've learned about leadership organization from a variety of different experiences. Next slide.
The one thing that I admire following the military strategy, that's so important. It's important how to look at the event and not just look at the player, but I'm looking at the leader, the follower, and the situation, and the strategy, the theme. And so it is amazing because I started the military. That's very interesting to me. It's not haphazard. We talk about war, we hear the news and this and that and the other, but to understand the strategy behind me. Yeah.
Yeah, Dr. Love. Yeah, Dr. Love, you're very, very right. I can't tell you how many hours of planning I was involved in for any military operation. They're very strategic in what they do. That's why we have the best Army in the world. So my civilian work experiences, other than McDonald's, the only other civilian job I've ever had in my life was I worked as a project manager after I retired from the Army, but I was doing my McDonald's owner training. And I worked for the Lewisburg Group in Washington, D.C., and they sent me to Afghanistan for 9 months to build a maintenance facility for the embassy over there. So really, that's the only civilian job I've had other than, and of course, we've been
teach arm of the military, the Lewisburg Group, or no?
Yeah, so they are a defense contractor, if you will. And so they had a bunch of military contracts, and they got a contract to build the maintenance facility for all the vehicles that the embassy used in Afghanistan. So I was part of that company, and they sent me over there. They would rotate leaders over there, project managers, to manage the construction of a maintenance facility. And so I did a rotation in Afghanistan. Probably the scariest time of my life. Sure. I grew my hair long, and, I was looking like a local, and yeah, it was very, very interesting time.
Consider the training ground for your
yeah. So this was a different job. I think it in terms of the project management piece of it, I think those skills that I had to kind of work with for that job helped me, because in McDonald's, obviously, we do a lot of construction. I know you've seen all of the construction and all the remodels to the restaurant in McDonald's. The training I got there really helped me manage my restaurant. As a matter of fact, I just completed the remodel of one of my restaurants. And we're talking $1 million remodel. And you got to know about scope, schedule, and budget. And this job really helped me prepare for the remodels that I had to make. As a matter of fact, McDonald's came to one of my restaurants and said, "Listen, have you done it before?" I said, "No, just use the project manager." I mean, so all the basics are the same. So yes, I would say it did help me. Not so much with the burger, certainly with the structure. Next slide. So our organization right now is 4 restaurants. We're doing close to, I think we'll exceed $9 million in business this year, about 200 employees, about $1.5 million customers every year. And like I said, we're on now to purchase another restaurant in March. So that, expanding the company. And our goal is to get 100.
My goodness. So what's the demographics? Tell me, how did you choose that location, or was that assigned by corporate? How does that work?
So the McDonald's in recent years have basically, first of all, owners own about 95% of the restaurant. And so you can sell to anybody you want. But McDonald's has the first right of refusal. So a lot of times they don't want you to sell to a person. They have the right to go in there and buy the restaurant, sell to who they want to. What they do try to do is they try not to have owners on top of each other and intermingle to their different areas. And so my Austell restaurant, bottom right, there's a restaurant that's coming available. It's right down the street from that restaurant. So they called me because it's close to my restaurant and asked me if I wanted to negotiate with the owner. So that's really
Proof of credibility.
yeah. I wanted to talk a little bit about entrepreneurship. And it's funny because when my wife and I will go to like a dinner party with everybody wants to know, well, how much money do you need to get McDonald's? How'd you get it? And I always tell my wife, don't say anything about McDonald's because we never really get to talk to anybody else about what they do. So thought about entrepreneurship, and I wanted to kind of share, some of the things that I always get asked. And the first question I always get asked, the first thing that I'd like to say about being an entrepreneur, without a doubt, hands down, get a mentor. If you're going to go into any business, you can avoid so many mindsets, and I certainly did by getting a mentor. I got a mentor early who was a long-term McDonald's owner, and it's done wonders for me. First of all, he knew all of McDonald's leaders. So I was introduced to a lot of vice presidents throughout the United States in McDonald's through him. All of leadership owners, especially the African-American owners, through him. He saved me $100,000 on my first purchase. And he also helped me to navigate, because when you get off at your first store, it's probably not the best store they got available. And so so the first store I was offered was obviously one that I'm a new guy, so it was one that nobody wanted. And he helped me navigate through the politics of turning it down without looking like I was a person who wanted to turn down everything. Because he helped me. I will tell you hands down, if you're going to go into any business, getting a mentor who's seasoned and knows the road save you a tremendous time, and for my case, money, $100,000 per deal. So that's number one. The second thing is people, when they have the entrepreneur, they look at whether or not they while I was hired to present me with 7 franchises, I looked at everything: Jiffy Lube, candy franchises, cleaning stores, and kept coming to me. What I realized was that being in a franchise, you really go into kind of a ready-made business, and it helps so much to be in a franchise because all of the marketing, all of the supply, all of the training, all that's laid out for you. And my recommendation to anybody who wants to become an entrepreneur, if you can find a franchise, even if you don't want to do it long, I would try a franchise for a couple of years, just understand all the business, because they have a blueprint for it. And then, you don't have to do it forever. And then go and do the business you want to do. But you'll have a good framework. All of my buddies right now have probably got 8 or 9 buddies who all got out of. They're all doing different things, but the common denominator is, man, the training we got from the I'm using all the skills I learned there in my new business. I would say if you franchise or not, I would absolutely franchise to kind of get a feel for systems you need. Hey, you guys got any questions? I'm more than I can stop and answer questions you guys. I'm really good. I'm okay with it.
You have so much knowledge and you're talking about yourself. It's not a bad thing. But the question that I have is that McDonald's provides the leadership training, but what about the employee training, number one? And number two, when you purchase a franchise, how does that impact the organization? Is that you responsible for developing the organization culture, or does that extend to McDonald's parent? How does that?
Yeah. So the first part, Karen, you talked about the training. Mm-hmm. So McDonald's has an extensive training system called Campus, for the most part, for leaders. For the more basic employee, it's called FRED, but they have extensive training. I'll talk about that a little bit when we talk about leader development, how that can be a good thing and it's a double-edged sword. But yeah, they have so much training that McDonald's is probably one of the training organizations. So training is there. You just got to. In terms of the culture, I often say your organization will take on the characteristics or the behavior of the leader. And so all the restaurants I've purchased, some of them have been great. The culture's been great. Some of them have not been as good. And as a leader, you have to have. So they really, really it's on you. When you get new restaurants, these people are looking at you. They dealt with another owner. They're dealing with you now. So you have to establish who you want in your totally. The third thing I say about entrepreneurship is find something that's recession. One of the things I thought about McDonald's is I knew, I looked at technology where, everybody ordered everything online and all the malls closed. Technology is taking over everything, but I knew that regardless of how much technology they have, you still have to go to McDonald's to get that burger. So I would say find proof. As a matter of fact, during this pandemic, I look at I've never been more profitable than I had over the last year. I'll give you my net income from each restaurant was about $174,000 pre-COVID. It's now $307,000 after COVID. So we're much more profitable during the pandemic because we got the drive-throughs. We don't all the lobbies are closed. We don't folks in there. Man. Find something recession-proof. Fourth bullet point is, if you're gonna go into business, figure out how big you want to grow, and understand what's required to grow to where you want to be. For example, if you're gonna buy a restaurant and you have to spend $300,000 or $400,000 on the building and the equipment and all. Understand that if things are good, you're gonna have to go spend another $300,000 or $400,000 on the next unit. So make sure that if you get something you really want to grow, that you understand financial later. And then the last part about entrepreneurship, it's hard work. It's hard work. I think I work probably 12 hours a day, and that's every day. Some people are happy when Friday comes. You know, I'm happy it's Friday, but my busiest days are Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So a lot of my friends tell me that, you know, I used to have aspirations of being a business owner. I see what you do. Nope, not for me. So it's very challenging work. And there's not up until a few months ago, there was not an hour in the year where my business weren't open. I mean, we open on Christmas. Christmas is my busiest day of the year. Am I right? We open on Thanksgiving. And it's tough work. So that's kind of my take on entrepreneurship. I don't know if anybody has questions about entrepreneurship or how I got started or anything.
Yes, Mark, this is Mithun. I'm a student of MAOL at Jetson. I'm taking a class under Dr. Love right now.
Okay.
I had a question.
Question. Represent that.
Yes, sure. So you said when you actually hired some consultant to choose which franchisee you wanted to go through, and you looked at different organizations, businesses, and then you narrowed it down to McDonald's. So how did you make that decision? Or what made you choose McDonald's over the other?
Yeah, so and I'll be quite frank, it was money.
Okay.
It was money. I looked at the average income generated by McDonald's, and then I looked at the average income for the other franchise. No one was even close. And so that it was basically money.
Okay.
And it had a package too. Yeah, it was money.
Well, thank you. And follow-up question would be about money. Was it easy for you to get financing from a financial organization, or how difficult was it?
So that's an excellent question. So McDonald's, when McDonald's is a very popular brand, and so there are branches of each of the major banks: Bank of America, Citizens Bank, Wells Fargo. They all have a McDonald's financing branch. That's how big it is financing. So there's no issue with getting financing for McDonald's. As a matter of fact, after I bought my first restaurant, I had to put down maybe $100,000. But after that, I bought my next 6 restaurants. I put $0. My second restaurant was, I think I paid $1.4 million for. The next restaurant I paid $500,000 for. Paid almost $1 million for. I had to put 0 finance because the reputation of the brand is so good. They let you buy everything.
Thank you.
What percentage of your capital investment?
So that's a great question. So in McDonald's, you have to have 25% equity at all. So really, the first restaurant you buy is where you kind of put all the money in. And so if you buy a restaurant, I don't know what it says on the website right now, but when I was trying to get into McDonald's, you had $250,000 left. I think it might be $500,000. Choose whatever the restaurant is to buy. If you buy a restaurant for $1 million, you have to put down 25% equity, put down $200,000. If you buy one that's more, you got to put down more. So, and what's great about it is once you put down your initial amount for the first restaurant, as you grow that restaurant, pay your debt down, now you have more. So if you go buy another restaurant, probably don't do anything because it pay down debt, build the business. You really don't put anything else down. It's only
And is there opportunity to expand
Hi, Karen.
internationally? Oh, wait. Someone else. Hi.
Yeah, go ahead. I'll wait for you. Go on.
Okay, I just wanted to ask a question. Is there any for expansion internationally?
so there is, Karen. I'm not super familiar with it, and I'm not familiar, so, but I know overseas a lot of times, from what I've seen and read, 'cause I don't have a lot of experience in it, when they have overseas restaurants, normally, unless it's like Puerto Rico or somewhere that's really, really familiar, they normally kind of contract those out to these bigger organizations to run the restaurants in certain countries. From what I've seen, and again, I don't have a ton of knowledge international, unless it's like Puerto Rico, close by Hawaii, then a lot of times they will go and hire a large company in the country to run, not as much opportunity for individuals.
They're like,
Yeah.
well, when I was in Paris, France, McDonald's, I don't know if they were managers, or what, they had long tail celebrity deals. I never tried like in Paris. It's amazing. It was
The mail.
yes. Dr. Stein, you have a question?
Yeah, well, actually, I do. I first of all want to say thank you. So appreciate you taking your time and most valuable information. I had not planned to say a thing, but I got excited about your topic. Merry Christmas. Still in Christmas spirit here.
Amen.
Yeah. Here. You talked about. I'm just really curious. How do you know you want to go into this whole entrepreneurial avenue of work?
Yeah, so that's a great question. And one of the things I realized in the Army, I love the Army, great institution, but I had very little control over my life. I thought about how, if I wanted to just go somewhere in the next week with my family, just take a week off and go, you can't really do that in the Army. I mean, you're like on call 24/7. So one of the things I thought about when I got in the Army, I want to be my own boss. I want to be able to call my, I want to live my life, make decisions on my own, and all that stuff. So I just said, I'm going to not work for anybody. I'm going to get my own business. So that's really why, I decided to come.
Yeah. Okay. Fantastic. Karen, I have at least a couple of more. May I ask?
Sure.
Okay.
Yes,
All right. Hopefully it will be helpful to others as well. You talked about the McDonald's Honor Program. Do they still have that? Tell us a little bit about it and how can one get involved in that program? How do you start? How does that work?
So there's and it should be still on the McDonald's internet. You can go and apply
on their webpage. Okay.
On the webpage. I will tell you it's helpful if you know somebody inside the system. As I looked up and just met a guy on the metro. It's very helpful.
Yeah.
So if you really want to pursue it, and I, mentored a couple guys, put them in. But yeah, any other franchise, application online. If you know somebody, it greatly increases your chance of getting it.
Yeah. That's food for thought. Sometimes I think we take for granted the opportunity to become relational with people, not only within our business, but just in general. So I applaud you doing that. And then my final, and I keep going, so fun, but I'll stop.
I'm super excited about you chiming in, Dr. Stein.
Oh, well, that's my girl over there. That's a whole nother, it's just wonderful. We love her. This whole thing, I'm reading, I think one of Colin Powell's books now. And he had some interesting thoughts just regarding his leadership style. And I want to speak to this. One of the things he talked about was listening very carefully to your staff, listening to your coworkers. And for us, I'll think about listening to our students. And he used the whole term, you listen to them and gain their respect from listening to them. And so if something goes wrong, so kind of speak to that. I don't know if you have experience related to that, but certainly a different perspective on.
Oh, that's great. So, and I'm glad you brought that up, because one of the things for me, I like to talk a lot too, especially in our meetings. And my wife constantly say, listen, you're talking too much. Let these guys go over their own results. They learn more. And I had to back up and just allow these guys to communicate their results, because I basically was, put words in their mouth, if you will. And I found once we did that, we got more buy-in. We got more, our managers started taking more initiative because they were heard better. So I think it's an excellent point. I mean, you've got to be a better listener than a communicator in business. And that's great. I couldn't agree with you.
Yeah. Listening is communicating, huh?
And another thing is, these guys, I mean, I'm in a restaurant quite a bit, but they're there all. They're there 24/7, and they see things you'll never ever be able to see. And sometimes scratch your head about why food costs bad. If you sit back and listen to these guys, and they tell you that we've been getting shorted with our truck all the time, you can call the the truck folks and say, listen, no, stop shorting us on it. So I think it's a great point. You gotta listen to these.
Thank you, Dr. Love.
Welcome. Dr. Sweeney, I see that you're on the call. I know you have lots of comments.
I'm just listening, right? Because as I listen and you hear the question, you understand some of the basics to run a business, and I can appreciate things that Mark has done to get there. I mean, sometimes we believe in the dream, but we don't understand the work. And what he's done is, through the work, he's built a dream. And I think that's critical. And the last thing that we just talked about is listening. I think that'll take you a long way, because we all have ideas, but how do you grow an idea? An idea about it.
Yeah.
So I appreciate the opportunity to hear what's going on. So I do have one question. When you look at McDonald's and different process, and then you look at technology, do you see a big blend in the way we create burgers, other than change the manual process, or your system change in the restaurant?
Yeah. So, great question. Our old CEO, he's no longer a company. He said, this about 3 years ago, we were at a business, and he said, you know what? I'm going to cut your labor by 20%. I think how we're going to do it. But they are constantly doing R&D to better the process, and I'm sure they're doing whatever they need to do to cut our labor in terms of automated food cooked by. But technology is taking over. See, we have kiosks now. We got, we rely more. So he also made it the same conference that, we need to start doing delivery. And here 3 years from now, and we're doing, $1,000 a day in delivery in some of I would, and I don't have enough time to go through it, but you would marvel at the technology we have in our restaurant. One of the things we're about to implement, and they've got a couple of stores, and I have one of the stores, is we have to figure out how much we cook on a minute by minute basis. And for the longest time, we would print these papers out, put them up by the grill, and basically cook what's on paper. We're implementing a system right now that basically tells us minute by minute how many hamburgers we need, how many nuggets we need, how many fish fillet, minute by minute, how many biscuits we need to bake, how much bacon we need. It's absolutely phenomenal. And I tell people, if you just go inside a regular restaurant and you go to the back office, see the manager computer and all the technology, all the information we're inundated. We can tell you how many, fries we sell by the minute. We can tell you how many cars we have to drive. We can tell you how long it took the average car to put the order in, how long it took the average person to pay for their order, pay window. We're talking 1,000 orders a day. So I will tell you that McDonald's is constantly innovating with technology, and we haven't scratched the surface. So you would be absolutely blown away to see all the technology in these little restaurants that we have.
One other, so now, are you on a schedule like phone or like computer companies that after so many years push to update, or is that an on?
Yeah, so we have a daily update that goes into our computer system in the restaurant. So it's daily. We're getting daily updates. It's pretty sophisticated. This is everything from changing prices if we need to updating the software, updating the firewall, prevent anybody from breaching computers. So no, it's all of our technology is almost. Other than getting an update every day, it's constant. We spend a lot. In my opinion, we spend way too much money on technology. I didn't pay one penny for technology. Now I'm paying like $20,000 a year for crazy. What you got to do.
Maurice, do you have a question? Thank you,
Sure. Sometimes my computer breaks. My Wi-Fi is messed up. So if you can't hear me, please let me know. My question involves, I hear a lot about drive, but have them been in on the road or struggle? How did you?
Yeah, so I will tell you the biggest bump in the road is, somebody told me first joined me, the capital outlay is huge and it never stops. There's always something new that McDonald's wants you. A shake machine, $18,000. I got to buy a new one next week. So probably, I don't know, this maybe 4 or 5 years ago, McDonald's came up with this called Vision 2020, where we're going to remodel every restaurant in the system. And basically, they, ask for the owner to do. And so the only way I can equate that is, say you're paying your 30-year mortgage, and all of a sudden the bank knocks on your door and says, listen, instead of a 30-year mortgage, we want you to pay that house off in 5 years. It was that profound in terms of having to spend money to remodel. And so there were a couple times where I was like, there's no way in the world I can remodel 4 restaurants. 500, 600. Can't do it. And so I, approached McDonald's, told them, hey, listen, because one of the policies they have is you have to, anytime you get a loan for a restaurant, you only have 7 years to pay. It's not like a 30-year loan. So imagine, you're going to borrow $1 million and pay it off 7 years. That note is going to be pretty significant. And so I had to go to 10-year versus 7 years. And so, I mean, I had sleepless nights saying, man, you know, and you know that always get approved. But if you're doing the right things and you're working hard and you're on committee, they told me, you know, and so my bank, you know, gave me 10-year financing when, man, I couldn't have done the remodel. So yeah, so the only bump in the road has been, you know, finance. I mean, it's a very capital intensive stream. I mean, all you're spending money on.
There, Mark?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. So yeah, that's been about it. Anything in a restaurant? Let me say, I haven't had any fire. Yeah, it's been about it. Trying to keep up with all of the capital. And here's another thing. So when I bought my first restaurant, it was not a very high performing restaurant. So I was able to buy $300,000 unheard. Shortly after I bought this restaurant, we started doing what's called cafe. Remember we tried to start doing cafe and we wanted to be the baristas and all. So I spent $300,000 on this restaurant. 3 months later, they wanted me to spend $100,000 to remodel my whole front counter, put all the equipment in there and all. So I basically spent, after I purchased my first restaurant, 33% of my sale price to put a coffee machine, if you will. But I mean, it's the right thing to do. I mean, we were trying to, you know, get that business, and it worked out in the end. So, you know, capital pretty expensive.
So those changes are mandated by corporate. You must hear changes. Is that what I'm hearing? In terms of remodeling and upgrade.
Yeah, Karen, they do. McDonald's, if they ask you to spend money like that, they present the business. So a lot of times it's the right thing for the business, and you know you don't want to get left behind. So go ahead and do it. Now, you always want to do it. Well, you know, you got the business case. Well, what are you gonna say? So yeah, but they do provide a business case. A lot of times they partner. McDonald's is very good about partnering with us. For example, my recent remodel I did paid for. Again,
I have a question, but I need to ask this question. Kim Johnson, she's listening on Facebook Live, and she said, prior to COVID, the restaurant had self-service menu where you order, get a number, sit, and the food is brought to you. Are there plans to use robots and perhaps go fully futuristic like Amazon Prep?
you know, we laugh, but you know, part of the whole they're going to cut our labor thing. You know, I would not be surprised if a robotic element in the restaurant. I mean, you know, so I don't know of any plans today to do that, but I would say, you know, stand by. I mean, you know, we got mobile order pay. We're doing delivery now, so we're leaning more and more to technology-based. I would not.
Mark, how difficult was it to factor in the logistics in terms of partnering with DoorDash and Uber? How did you factor that in? And was that immediate or was that a gradual service added on prior to COVID?
It's funny. So again, I talked about our CEO 3 or 4 years ago. Say, hey, listen, we need to start doing delivery. Well, a year later or so, we're doing delivery, and you know, it's almost scary how turnkey it's been, because they basically said, hey, listen, we're going to start doing delivery in a couple of weeks. Your laptop, take all your orders will be delivered. And before you know it, we were doing delivery. I mean, it was not a big buildup, not a big logistical, preparation type thing. It's basically, hey, listen, we'll start doing delivery. Here's a laptop. I mean, not a laptop. It was a tablet. Put the tablet in, your order come on the tablet, and start handling. So we started out with Uber Eats, and then, we got DoorDash, Postmates, and then we just add Grub. And every time we add somebody, it's not a big fanfare. It's not a big, training deal. It's just we're doing. It's almost been seamless.
Are there performance measures in place for each part?
Absolutely, yeah. So we, and I don't know what criteria for them, in terms of, how they rate the various companies they do it with, but we get to see how each company on a daily basis performs, which ones are doing better than.
Additional question.
I have one additional one. So I heard the story about, you connecting with a mentor and everything like that, but how long would you say it took you to like really gain
That is such a fantastic question. I will tell you, it takes a while. I would say probably it took about, I'd say 6 or 7 years, because our turnover is pretty high in the fast food industry. I'll give you an example. Turnover is somewhere around 190 for basic work people. And then for our manager, turnover is about 80 to 90%. And so it takes a long time for you to develop a core group of folks who've been with you, know your priorities, know how you operate. It takes a good little fast food, minimum of 5 years, unless you just get lucky and find the right people and stay with you. Turnover is down, and it takes a while, say a minimum of 5 years before you really kind of get in your group. And really for us, probably 7. But I got people in that have been with me for a while. I'm in a better.
Well, I'm going to shift gears because it's 7:24, and I want to give you an opportunity to talk about the empowerment ministry. I was so excited when you shared it with me. So please share that.
So, I've been in churchgoer and Christian all my life. And, it took me a while to find a church I was really into, if you will. A long. And finally, I found a good church called Fellowship of Love Church in Fayetteville, Georgia. If you ever here, come see it. Well, not now. There's no one seeing anything. And so I joined, and I was kind of quiet, kind of, being behind the scenes, whatever. And one day, Pastor asked me, hey, look, our empowerment ministry, the leader is leaving. Would you like to take over this ministry? And I was, John, I had 0 time. I mean, I know, can't tell God. So I took over the ministry, and essentially my ministry, 6 of us. It's the only ministry in the church where the only people can join the ministry have to go through the pastor. And basically what we do in the church is we take 10% of everything the church takes and we give it back. And so in accordance with our bylaws, 3 schools that we provide the empowerment packages every year, 2 elementary schools and 1 middle. And these are the schools that feed our church or the same church. And we basically go to them and say, look, what do you need that you don't have in your budget? We'd like to look at that list and see. And so they give us a list, and we take it back to the ministry. those, those funds. And it's normally about 6,500, 7,000 per school. In addition to the schools, we have 6 other organizations. So we have an organization called Fed Care Clinic, which provides medical support for the less fortunate. Organization called Place is a shelter back in Southside education kids. Fed Samaritans, another group in the community that provides for kids. And we basically give those organizations something every other year. And so it's been a blessing to be able to do that. So wonderful when you are able to be a part of providing these gifts and delivering these gifts to these organizations. And one of the things we do is we give long term. We won't do anything, short term. For example, we won't go and feed the hungry for a day. We're more the guidance Pastor gave. We're going to do that, provide support for long. For example, for the Fed Care Clinic, we purchased security cameras for their office. We have, for the schools, we provide money for teaching professional development. We know that's a long term. So we look to do things that are more long term for them. We provide, last things versus short term things here today. But I'm very excited about the ministry. I love it. And it's a great thing. And we honor so much community based on great.
Amen. I am so excited about joining Friday Night Chat. It's a pleasure. And for all of you who decided to join in tonight to learn about strategy and entrepreneurship and organizational excellence and logistics and change management, I can go on and on because Mark brought it all to the table. And leadership. I really appreciate your time and joining the chat room. I appreciate all the questions that were asked tonight. And I wanted to say God bless you all. Thank you for joining in. And I look forward to a conversation next month with you as well. Take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks so very much.
Thank you.
Gone. Oh. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Yeah. Yeah.